Well, good morning, everyone. This is Michael DeVille coming to you from beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. Tatum and I are in the West USA studios, and this is another Creating Real Estate Wealth webinar. Now, I've been very fortunate to be in this real estate industry, and this is my opportunity to give back to you. And many of you may know that I'm the author of How to Create a Real Estate Money Machine and Retire with Income. That's what we're here today to do for the last 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks. This is what we've been wanting to do, is make sure that we can give you the opportunity to build a real estate money machine for you and your spouse and your kids and your grandkids to provide income basically for decades, generations maybe, right here in Maricopa County. But of course, the principles we talk about can be used anywhere. And this is just an opportunity. And I always want to thank West USA for allowing me to use this platform and to give back to you. Part of my give back is if you have like to brainstorm with me, or like to go over your goals or any of your thoughts. If you have a property that you'd like to discuss with me, I'm more than happy to sit down with you and we'll review it. Just call me and we'll try and set something up. Now, today we're going to be talking about negotiating with knowledge and talking about our universe of homes. Next week's an important one in that we're going to talk about a free and clear strategy, because all this culmination is to get into properties that are free and clear and to give you cash flow for basically forever. And once they're free and clear, of course, a lot of that risk comes out and they just become cash machines for you and just keep producing money over and over and over again. Now, before we get into this, what I would like to talk, I've had a lot of calls this week asking about two things, the economy and housing. So let me just recap housing. As you know, I do a lot of economic research. I have many advisors that I'm in contact with. I get a lot of their research. My personal belief is that the U.S. economy is doing very well. And if you look at all the statistics, if you look at the industrials, if you look at the manufacturing, if you look at mining and construction, a lot of the hands-on industries have recovered and are recovering very well. So the recession really, I think, is healing. We're getting better. We're not there yet. We're not recovered, but we are recovering. And I would look into the future and I would say to you this, that I think that the economy is going to do very well by the time we start looking at the second quarter of next year, 2021. I think we're going to have a really good economy. I think things will be doing very well. Now, one of the reasons I say that is that when we went into the recession, central banks and treasuries around the world unleashed a flood of liquidity. That liquidity does take time for it to work its way through the general economy. And when Main Street starts to see it, it takes about 12 to 18 months. And April next year is going to be that 12-month period. And I believe that the flood of liquidity is going to start coming through that quarter. And I think it's going to lift all boats. I think things will be much better. Now, I say this with this caveat, is that we kind of had a catalyst that was interesting. We've had the government do some mandated closings, and they've really slowed industry down. If they stop that, and then I think the economy is just going to recover very nicely. But however, I will tell you, if you have a Mad Max event and the governments just close everything down, well, then of course that's going to slow the recovery, and that could make it lag a little bit. But I don't see any evidence of that. We're doing very well here in Arizona. It looks really good. I've looked around the country and I see things doing exceptionally well. And I think that unless you're in, really the hospitality industry, I think is having trouble. I think that big box, or I should say, sticks and bricks retailers are having problems. Everyone else is doing fairly good. And of course, us in the real estate business are doing very well. Now, the other question I'm getting, and I'd like to segue into this, is the real estate industry. if you've been following my work, I talked about having a correction in the third quarter of 2018 that's going to last to the fourth quarter of 2019. We could see that it was just a correction in an ongoing bull market. You could see it nationally. Some of the markets didn't participate. Florida, Texas, and Arizona. Here in Maricopa County, we didn't. Our growth rate slowed, but we certainly didn't go negative. A couple of the markets around the country went negative, but not much. And then in the fourth quarter of 2019, we spiked up, and then I realized, I think we're going to have a double correction because I think this was just a mid-cycle spike. And here we are correcting around the country. That is in the timing model. And of course, if you hear this in the news, I've had a lot of clients call me. I've had a lot of agents call me. A lot of my friends ask me about this. Because they can see that in New York and in Chicago and in Minneapolis and Milwaukee, places in Seattle and Oregon, things are slowing down, and there is a real market change. New York City is in real desperate times, and it's caused by the government, and there is a market shift. Regionally, real estate is doing really well in New York. You're just having a shift from the millennials moving out of the center of the city out to the suburbs. A lot of people are leaving their condos, going by homes. So regionally, if you just expand that region, you see that they're doing really well. And people who are leaving the central core of the cities are going somewhere. And where they're going is going to do really well. Prices will go up, rents will go up, you'll have a decline in inventory, and that's what's happening here in Phoenix, is that we're the destination. We have people that are uprooting themselves in Chicago, uprooting themselves in Milwaukee, in New York, Seattle. They're changing their business, they're throwing in the towel in those places, and they're coming here to start over, and we are the recipients of those people, and our market is going to be great. That's why our inventory is low. I also hear say, well, we have a moratorium on evictions and a moratorium on foreclosures. Well, and they're talking about what would happen if we had a flood of these. Well, we had a flood of these in 2008, 9, 10, and 11. We just came through it just fine. The people who were in trouble were able to find other places to live. Sometimes they went home with their mom, sometimes their brothers. They doubled up with friends. These are things that we do when we get into trouble, and then we learn our lessons and we go on with our lives and get better. That's what's going to happen. And even if it happened here and we had some foreclosures come onto the market, it would actually help our market because we have so little inventory. So in order to recap, I'm going to tell you the economy looks great. I see real estate looking great. I see no problems with our market at all. I think we can easily look out till second quarter of 2021. I see nothing but really good things, unless something really weird happens and you have a Mad Max event. I think we're just going to do really well, and business is going to do nothing but improve, which comes back into what we're doing here today. We've got a strategy. We're investors. We're representing our clients. How do we prepare to purchase properties, good properties, in a market like today? How do we negotiate with knowledge? Let me ask you, one of the things that we're looking at today is when you know your marketplace. And I've talked about having a universe of homes. A universe of homes is nothing more than a group of properties, sometimes a subdivision, sometimes a neighborhood, that you've already done the research for. You know they're going to work. You know that the transportation's good. You know schools are good. You know that the shopping good. All the amenities are good, and it's growing. That rent is growing, and you have a desirable neighborhood where you have lots of people want to live. You've already done the research. You would know the age of the houses. You would know the age of the roofs, how long the air conditioners work there, how long the roofs are good for. You're going to know what the HOA problems are, what people are concerned about. And this is all the research that you've done. So you have a huge amount of knowledge. You also know what the prices are. Because keep in mind that homes are sold in ranges. Now, a really well cared for home that's been upgraded and immaculately maintained gets more money than a home that has not. It commands much more money on the marketplace. You would know that range in your universe of homes. You have knowledge, so you may know that there's a $30,000 or $40,000 delta between the low end and the high end. And for us, it's so much easier for us to buy in the low end because we are price sensitive. So here's some of the criteria that we think about when we're purchasing a home, because the mantra I keep wanting to say is that all homes will rent, but not all homes are great rentals. We want to buy homes to rent, not rent homes that we've bought. So we have a plan, we have a system, we have a strategy. So one of the questions is, how does Universal Homes keep you focused? Why do you want to immerse yourself in your Universal Homes? Why must an investor be patient? God, being patient is so hard, and wait for that right opportunity to arise. How does ready, willing, and able help me negotiate? What information do I need from the seller to better position myself for an offer? How important is that? We're going to talk about that. And what pricing factors should be taken into consideration? So let's get right into this. So what criteria prepares me to acquire a great rental? Well, we've already talked about this. We know when you're focusing in your own universe of homes, you are so well prepared. You know what's going on. What are the negotiations in today? Let's just start there. What constitutes a win for you or a win for your client? What constitutes a win? Now, if you've done your homework and you're in a universe of homes, you know what these prices range for. Now, if they're ranging from 280 to 320, that's a pretty big delta. Where does this particular property fit in that delta? Now, you could add so much value to your client and to yourself by knowing where this is. Now, so what constitutes a win? Now, does your client really need to buy a property? In which case, price is not necessarily as important as some other things. So if you're working with a buyer that needs to buy a property, and this is one of his parameters, well, maybe he's willing to spend a little bit more money. Because even as an investor, it's good for us to get as low a price as we possibly can. But if the goal is to acquire the property, and that's a win, is that this is a particular property, it's going to fit into our portfolio, then we have to kind of balance getting a good price with still acquiring the property. Now, we're in a crazy, crazy marketplace where you might have 10 offers on a property. Typically, as an investor, we're pretty well positioned in that marketplace because we're excellent buyers. We're putting more money down, our credit's really, really good. And you can do that yourself, even if you're acquiring your first property, is to always make sure that you have you're pre-qualified, that you've got your down payment ready, and that you can find and write an offer that's going to work for the seller. Now, as an investor, acquiring the property sometimes is paramount to us. We want to get onto the train as the train is leaving the station. Very important this year in the fact that we needed to buy properties and let the market work for us. So you can sit and wait and wait and wait and wait for the correct property, and sometimes you keep making offers and the market has moved. So this is where knowing your universe of homes and knowing if the property sold for 280 5 months ago, but 3 months ago it sold for 282, and last week it sold for 285, you know that the market's moving and you have to adjust your price accordingly. So the comps that we use need to be current so we can be actually making a good offer on a property. Now, the win, of course, is acquiring a property that works for us. So if you find a property that works and you're getting your benchmark, keep in mind that we're investors. We want to make sure that we get a return on our investments. If you find a property that gets a benchmark in today's market, we probably want that property. So that tailors your offer. Now, keep in mind, we're excellent in the way of marketing. If you have 10 offers on a property, pretty hard to try and get too terribly much off the price of that property. So maybe a win becomes getting that property in today's market. When we have so few homes on the market, maybe the win is acquiring the property. Maybe that is the win. Maybe that's what we need to do. And you need to sit and ask yourself, why do I want this property? If I want the property, am I willing to pay what the seller's asking? And if it still works as seller's asking, maybe that's what you want to do. Now, we as investors putting 20, 30, 40, 50% or cash down on a property really are really tough on FHA buyers, 3% down, first-time home buyers, people who are marginal. They have a hard time competing with us, so we'll generally get the property. If you want a discount, here's what you need to find out. And we need to solve the problem for the seller. So one of the notes I made for myself is, what are we going to do for the seller? Now, the seller always wants to get as much money as he can for his property. He wants to sell it at the highest price he can. But that's not always the number one concern. Sometimes repairs are a problem for them. Maybe they're being transferred. They haven't got time to do this. Maybe they're being transferred, but they want the kids to stay in the same school district and finish out the year. Maybe they want to close and rent back. Maybe they're concerned to sell their property in a really fast market like we're in, and they have nowhere to go. So they're reluctant to sell the property, and they want to sell it for more money than it's worth so they can justify taking that risk. Maybe what you need to say is, look, we'll buy the property, stay here 30 days on me, we'll sign a lease, but you don't have to pay anything for 30 days, and we'll buy the property. We just want a little bit of a discount. These are the types of things that if you know what the problem is and you solve it for the seller, you can often acquire the property and maybe get a little bit of a discount for it. And if you're patient and you know what you're looking for, the market always provides. You will always get a property that comes into your purview, and you can get this property. The market always provides, but you need to be ready, willing, and able to close. Always. You need to negotiate from a position of strength. You need to have all the things that make it worthwhile. Now, here's the other thing. We're ready to close. We've got our money. We've got we're non-contingent. We're ready to close. Let's concentrate on just one item. The seller is concerned about repairs. They're concerned about closing dates. We can solve all those problems. We often want to do those repairs ourselves. It's so much easier to get a credit from the seller and do the repairs ourselves, because that way our own vendors do it. We know who they did. We've got warranties with them. We can go back if they need to come back. We know who they are. We can take care of it. We can schedule it on our own, and we relieve that problem from the seller. I always say concentrate on one issue. Don't keep asking for them to pay costs and concessions and try and negotiate all the little items. Concentrate on one, make it simple and easy. The other item is to make sure that you're polite and cordial to the seller's agent or the buying agent, because you are a team. You do represent your clients, but both clients have this goal, and that is to close the property and make it as easy as you possibly can for each one of them. So I would say, if you're an investor, concentrate on just the price, and don't be a PIG. You want to get in, try and get yourself a little bit of a discount. In today's market, very hard to do. Can be done, but probably not as well, because the market conditions are different. If you're looking at the property and you get into a bidding war and you start getting to the point where you're not going to get your returns, you need to be able to walk away from the property. You need to say, we're done. This is my position. This is what I'm offering. And if it doesn't get to you, then it's time to leave the transaction and go get another one, because the market will always provide. You'll always get another property, and maybe just as good. So we just need to make sure that we don't overpay for the property, but at the same time, we need to treat everybody cordial, polite, Never get your ego involved, because this is a very stressful situation for both for both buyer and sellers. Sometimes sellers communicate that to their agent and set their agents off a little bit and make them stressed. But you need to be rock solid and to really help your negotiations by never getting your ego involved. So to recap, markets look good. Economy's is improving. Our business, I see no problems coming in. I think the negotiations are a little harder today, but if we work on them and try and work with the buying agent or the selling agent and work as a team, I think you can get this done for the benefit of both parties. Everybody can have a win-win, and we can move forward and have a really good portfolio for yourself, even in a market like today. So next week, we're going to talk about a strategy to get your properties free and clear. And once they're free and clear, your life is good. Nothing's going to happen once they're free and clear. The jeopardy and the risk drops out of the property, so it's much better, and you can retire whenever you want to. Because remember, retiring is not an age. Retiring is a financial decision. So if you have any questions, please send them to creatingwealth@westusa.com. We often get questions during the week, and we try and answer them on the podcast on Saturday. And if you want to watch it or listen to it, you can just type in West USA Realty podcast, and it'll open up and you have a couple of choices. We often answer questions on that come in during the week. If you have any questions or concerns, creatingwealth@westusa.com. We're going to have some classes. We're going to have some more seminars coming up. If you want to be involved with us, if you have any concerns, you want to schedule an appointment with me, you can send it to creatingwealth@westusa.com. Or if you need to really do something personal, you're welcome to email me at michael@michaellaville.com. If you want this flyer, send it to creatingwealth@westusa.com. And I want to thank you so very, very much for taking your time to listen to me. If I can help in any way, I certainly will. My very, very best to you. Bye-bye now.